I'm just going to recap some of the things I've already said. Okay, it's recording now. Thank you for pointing that out. So, like I was saying, this is Postman. So we use Postman to make requests to and from APIs. And I have an API that I have already developed and deployed to the server. The API is just a simple C# app, but instead of having views, it has endpoints. And instead of sending pages to the browser, it sends JSON. I don't know how many of us are familiar with JSON, but JSON is a structure that we use in communication between APIs and the clients. So like I was saying, I said to handle authorization and authentication in an API, you basically send your username and password to the API. The API checks if those details are in the database, and then it gives you a response. I'm going to hit send here. And I see that I get an access to So I see that I get an access token back. I'm going to malform this password now. If you have a question, can you put it in the chat or just so you're not breaking communication? Just put it in the chat or use the hand raised thing, and I'll give you access to talk. So I'm going to malform the password a bit, just add some characters that are not supposed to be there. And then I'll hit send again and see what happens. It tells you invalid grant, invalid username or password. So now the API is saying, I don't have this person in my database. And then how do we use this token that we got back? I'm going to come to this get profile page, and let's assume we're using an app, and we're going to the profile part of the app. And then what we do is we send it back to the API. That token we got back, we send it back to the API. Just send it back and say send. And remember, we're just telling it, hey, give me a profile. We didn't tell it which person's profile we want. But look, we're getting the profile back for a person. This is a phone number of the person's profile. This is a link to the person's image. So when you see your image displayed in the Uber app, a link to the image is actually sent and loaded. So, but watch what happens now. If I don't send these two details, so just unticking them will not send them to my API. If I say send, now it says no authorization header found, and it says 401 unauthorized. It means, hey, I don't know who this person is. You need to send me a token. So basically, that's how login, logout works on an API. You need to send a token to protected routes on an API for you to interact with it. And the token doesn't just allow you interact with it. The token tells the API who is talking to it. So the token kind of lets you know, okay, this is who is talking to me. And I'll show you the way the token knows that. We can decode a token. If we go to jwt.io, a token is just an encrypted string that contains actual data. So coming to jwt.io, which is a handy site for you to check your tokens, I'm going to post the token I got back, and I see some information in the token. This is the username. This is the type of the user. These are the resources the user has access to, and all of that. So what happens then is when you send this token back to the user, back to the API can pull out all of this information, including the phone number from the token, and then knows, okay, it is this person that is calling me, so I should send the profile for this person. And that's the general flow for authorization and API and what's it called? So now how do we actually go in and create an API? Just to show you where this API is, I've been saying API, just to show you where this API is. I'm actually going to log into server. We have a server running on this IP. I don't know if you can see my terminal. So I have this service called registration service. We're using a microservices architecture here. I have this registration service. And if I look at my logs, don't worry about the commands I'm typing. You don't have to get this now. Registration. So these are just outputs. You know, when you're running your .NET application, there are certain outputs that you generate as the application is running. So these are just some of the outputs that my application generates when I send those requests. And if you can see some of the events that happened, let's see. Let's just come here and say, get phone verification token, right? So when you're using an app like Uber, the first thing you do is you enter your phone number and they send you a token, right? And it goes to your SMS, and you know that, and then you enter that token into the browser. Now, this is how it works. All I have to do, all the mobile apps does is send the phone number to the API. The API generates a token. So you're going to write C# codes that generates a random token and send it to the user's phone number, right? And that's what I'm going to send this request now. And look at the response I get back. It says status code 200, token sent to phone number. So now I don't own this phone number, but whoever owns this phone number would most likely get a text message. To confirm that that works, I'm going to look at my logs again. There's quite an amount of logs here, so we'll just wait for it to scroll through. Now it's login is just so, okay, it's done. And if you see this line, if you can see the line I highlighted, it says your verification token is 5CE0E5. So someone is actually going to receive an SMS with this token, and then they enter the token on their mobile app screen to proceed. So this is the interaction between mobile app or web app like MVC, Angular, and API. You send the request to the API endpoint, the API does some work, and then it sends you some information back. And that's the interaction. So let's go ahead and create a simple web API project. I'm using Windows terminal here. So it just kind of lets me put my PowerShell sessions into tabs. You can download and use it if you want to. So I'm just going to come here and I'll switch to my repos folder. And I'll create a new project, .NET new web API. So for an API, you create a web API, right? .NET new web API. And what are we going to name this? Okay, Booker, I'm unmuting you. Can you go ahead with your question, please?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, what's the question?
Okay, before you get into the web API stuff, I just wanted to ask, that particular example you showed us, was it the same web API or was it Xamarin? Because it seems like a mobile app.
What example? Okay, the example I was showing you.
The example you used, yes.
Okay, so there are two parts to any application, right? Any mobile application, there are two parts to it. There's a mobile app, which runs on your phone, and there's an API which powers it. So there's no mobile application exists, no non-trivial mobile application exists without a web API. So every mobile app needs a web API backend to power it. So the mobile app is just a client on your phone, and the mobile app is sending requests to an API somewhere. So I haven't even shown you the mobile app here. All I've done is show you the, what's it called? The endpoints from the endpoint for the mobile app. So this is the API that powers the mobile app. You understand that? All right, great. So I'm going back to creating the application. So I'm just going to make this a little bigger. So .NET new web API, let's call it demo API. Demo API. Just let it restore. Great. So I'm just going to demo API. We see it's all created. Now the difference is you don't see a views folder here. So when you create a normal MVC app, you notice you have a views folder here, but we don't have a views folder here because we're not returning views, right? So I'm just going to clear this and I'm going to say code dot. I want to open this up in Visual Studio Code. I'm actually going to increase my font a little so it's a bit easier for people to see. And so it's the usual format, right, of our, okay. And so it's the usual format of our MVC project. We have controllers, then we have our startup file, then we have this weather forecast file. I'm going to delete this because whenever you create a project, you can just delete this. We're not going to use it. I'm going to delete this controller. Okay. And then let's create a controller, right? I'm just going to say new file. Let's name this demo controller. Remember, the name still has to end with controller here. So demo controller.cs, and then I go namespace. So the namespace is always the name of your project. Demo API dot controller, since it's in the controller folder. Demo API dot controllers, and then the name of the class. A class demo controller. If my screen is, if it's too small, you can just let me know. And then I can just add an action here. So I can add an action. So I say, so public I action results. Let's name this. Or you know what? Instead of naming this demo controller, let's name it something more realistic, right? So what is one of the projects you guys are working on? Let's actually model it based on one of the projects you're working on. Let's see. Okay, loan provider aggregator. Aggregating all loan providers. All right, great. So let's use this. So I'm going to rename this controller to loan controller or loan provider controller. Is there a better name for loan controller? Loan provider, what's the alternative if I want to put it in one word? Someone help me out. I'm not the best at naming things. Let's just use the loan provider controller, right? So this loan provider controller is going to loan provider controller, right? And then I can just say public action results get loan provider. So this endpoint is supposed to return all the loan providers in our system. And I need to resolve my usings. So my using statements, control period. So, and then for now, I'll just say return new, okay, object results. Now, if you notice something here, what we would do before is to return a view, right? So we'll do some calculation, put something in a view bag, and then return a view, and then use that thing in the view bag, right? But now we're actually going to return actual data, actual C# classes. I'm going to say return new, okay, object result. Or let's start from here. Let's say string array. Let's make this a list instead. So I'll say a list of string. List of string loan providers equals new list of string. Okay, so autocomplete already handled that. And I think here I need to use using system.collections to generic to make that error go away. So I've created a list of strings, which is a loan providers, and then I'm just going to automatically, so this is a way to just add things to your list without doing list.add. So I'll just add them here. I'll say curly wise, and then I'll say, wow, I don't know a lot of them. Okay, there's rent money, which other one? Okay, let me see, I'll just increase this font. Is it big enough? This is too big for me. Is it big enough now? So piggy vest. Awesome. So I have a list of loan providers. For now, we're just putting these loan providers here, or let's just, in your head, just think about it as coming from think of it as coming from a database, right? So we're not putting this in here, we're calling it from a database. We're going to switch to a database later. So instead of returning a view, we just say return new OK object result, and we put the data we want to return here. So we want to return the loan providers, right? Awesome. I'm just going to, so there are certain annotations we need to put in our class. So let's see sharp now. Okay, this is a controller. So I'm going to put controller up here. This has to inherit from the controller base. So in an MVC app, we usually inherit from controller, just controller, but for a web API, we inherit from controller base. And then we still put our HTTP post and HTTP get on this. So this is a get method. And I'll say it's routes to slash loan providers slash get loan providers. I'm going to explain what all of this does in a bit. Just follow me. All right, great. I think this looks okay. So I'm going to switch to Postman. I want to test out what we have here. And the way to test it is because we can't have a view, you use Postman to test. Is my Postman too small? Let me see if I can increase the font here. You know what? I'll just increase the general font for my system. I prefer small fonts. Well, this is 150. Let's go to 200%. Okay, so I believe everything should be bigger now. Okay, so everything is bigger now. But it's kind of wonking up my screen. Let's see if there's something I can do about that. Okay, so. All right, so I'll come to Postman and I'll just create, I like to put my request into collections depending on which project I'm creating. So I'll create a new project. So come into Postman and say new collection. I'm going to name this demo API. So if all the requests that has to do with, all the requests having to do with this demo API is going to be put here. Where are you? I'm just going to style it so it goes to the top. All right, so the first request is we want to get all loan providers, right? So the web app, obviously, so the guys working on the front end are going to ask you, oh, what is the endpoint for getting the loan providers? Oh, okay, this meeting is going to end in 10 minutes, but you guys can just rejoin. When the meeting ends, you can just rejoin with the same link. I hope that's, let me see what the cost to upgrade is even. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just upgrade to the paid monthly version, so you guys don't see my my card details as I type it in. Meanwhile, you guys can just unmute yourself and just discuss or ask questions while I try to get this done.
Ah, man, I've been doing the wrong thing since. God. I've been doing MVC, oh my God. Ah, Lord, what a waste of my time. Oh.
Who is this person, I beg? Because me, I don't even know how to start.
Oh my God.
Did you guys hear that Xylos is moving the deadline of the project forward?
Are you serious? Who said that? Who are you sure?
Check on general.
Well, I guess
oh, thank God. Thank God.
No.
Not for that closer.
Baba, is it forward? You are saying thank God. Thank God.
Wait, like how? Like shorter now?
Like
yes,
shorter, yes.
Oh my God. Oh, Lord.
Thank God.
Last, nobody will do project.
I did tell you.
It'll be awesome if you guys join me in the chat and leave the group.
See, please, you people should not be angry. Oh. I don't even know where to start. My name is KC32. Like, my team has done the whole thing in front end, and I'm supposed to verify with back end. Who can help me out?
We're already angry. We're already angry.
Well, that's why you're here. Just chill. You'll be fine. I think he's going to address these issues.
Hello guys, my name is Osanuela. Please, me, I don't even know where to start. My own my project is on African vacation, and you know we have 54 countries in Africa. So even the database, I don't even have to go about it. And each country must have up to 10 to 15 top vacation centers that will be included. And those vacation centers, I must talk about the weather, the currency, the culture, the survival, a lot of things about those places. Even my front end team now, I don't even know how to. Yeah, I'm listening.
Just calm down. You need to break your work into various pieces so that you know what you're working on part time. So you don't get it all mixed. So you have to break the work down first.
You're making it sound easy. No, not you. The brother that is talking. He's making it sound easy. We don't even know how to start to integrate the HTML.
Even my front end, they have not started writing anything at all. I'm the team lead, so they just keep on asking me questions.
What's
hard in front end now? How can front end not be writing anything? Front end is very easy.
I told them to start writing, that they should start writing because we're making research. I don't know. Now I don't even know what to do.
Sign up page.
The thing is,
that one is simple now.
It's we all feel it.
Liberalize it. It seems
It's
Liberalize
an issue, yes, but
yeah, it seems Liberalize knows how to build APIs with C#. I think that's what our problem is. Most of us, we don't even know how to do this thing, and that's what the front end is going to interact with. You get.
Thank you.
So telling her